My name is Isabella Burckhardt, and I'm a senior entrepreneurship major with the Zarb School here at Hofstra. And I just want to take a moment before we start to thank and appreciate all of the people that made today's event possible, starting with Phil Dalton, the director of Hofstra's Center for Civic Engagement, along with our graduate assistants, Joanna and Gabby, Athleen Collins from Hofstra's Cultural Center, Dean Vickery, who I see in the audience from the Zarb School of Business. Thank you so much for your support. Kenya Nunez and Sharon Goldsmith from the Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, as well as Marianne Trasiati, the director of Hofstra's Labor Studies program. This event would not have been possible without their collaboration, their support, their advertisement, and just their belief in this work and in broadcasting it to the Hofstra community. So if you'd like to connect with any of these collaborators, in just a moment, I'll put all of their details in the chat so you can follow them on social media, learn more about them, and stay connected. I know they'd really love that. I planned this event as a part of the Center for Civic Engagement's fellowship program. So I just wanted to take a moment to share more about the Center for Civic Engagement for anybody who might not be familiar with it. It's a university institute here at Hofstra designed to educate students in democratic values by actively engaging them as knowledgeable citizens in collaboration with their communities. CCE organizes dozens of on-campus events like the one that you're attending today. We offer a fellowship program for students interested in helping to plan these events, alongside internships, volunteer opportunities, and a minor in civic engagement. So if you're interested, those details will also be in the chat. Now on to the reason that we're all here today. I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to share the Bronx Exchange and their work with the Hofstra community. They're a project of the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative that connects Bronx small businesses, nonprofit institutions, and community and labor organizations to build an equitable, sustainable, and democratic local economy in the Bronx. Some of their key initiatives that we will focus on today include their Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative that encourages the creation of worker cooperatives and the conversion of traditional businesses into cooperatives through specialized trainings and services, as well as their work connecting small businesses with existing assets in the Bronx to maintain increased local investment, which can be transformative for businesses, employees, families, and the community at large. Representing the Bronx Exchange today is their business engagement manager, Gabriel Farias. Gabriel was born and raised in the Highbridge section of the Bronx. As the Bronx Exchange's business engagement manager, he leads the recruitment and onboarding of Bronx businesses and assists companies with business development. He has an extensive background in the nonprofit sector, business operations, and engagement with small businesses across the borough. This event is really meant to be a conversation with him, so please send questions in the chat at any time, or when we open up the conversation to questions, please, you can raise your virtual hand if you want to speak to him aloud. If at any time you feel uncomfortable publicly sharing a question, you can always direct message it to me and I can relay it to him. But now I want to pass it off to Gabriel to introduce himself a little bit more to you and further elaborate on the brief introduction that I just provided.
Isabella, thank you so much for the introduction. Humbled in all of everything that you shared. I want to thank everyone for coming, and also the those who promoted this event. As you all know, I was born and raised in the Bronx. Something that I did not share, or it's not really public, but I went to City College, and my major was economics. So it's an opportunity and like a blessing to be able to be really trained in this sense of economic development through business and through collaboration in my community here in the Bronx. And I know that many folks don't get the chance to do this, so I'm a privileged person to really apply my training experience and apply it for community impact.
That's so wonderful. I think that's really a value that we have here at Hofstra is how are you leaving here to change the world, to impact your community. So I'm really excited to have this conversation about using our educations and our backgrounds, not only as students, but as faculty members, as community members to enrich the communities that we're a part of. And that's really what I want to get into. So this first section will just be an opportunity for us audience members to get to know you and the Bronx Exchange a little bit more. And the first question that I have is, as we mentioned briefly, the Bronx Exchange is a project that was created under the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative. Would you be able to share a little bit more behind the motivation for creating the Bronx Exchange and the needs in the community that you hoped to meet with this project?
Yeah, so the work started through a study with MIT Innovators Lab and Bronx community leaders in addressing a need in wealth generation that wasn't really benefiting the community. And so they've identified some of the areas within not just business or economics, but there's different areas in health, especially here in the Bronx. One of the things that they identified was that there are several industries and there are several areas that are generating wealth. For example, the Bronx holds the biggest food distribution in the country. And so why is something that big not being really benefiting to the community? And so amongst other academia, there's several universities, Fordham University, the Wildlife Conservation Society with the Bronx Zoo. So all these things that have wealth generating, but not necessarily being able to relay that to the community. And then also thinking about the businesses that haven't really participating along that process of procurement. And so Bronx Exchange was really to close that gap through leveraging relationships, through really preparing businesses to be able to qualify for those opportunities that are generated here in the Bronx. And so far, we've been able to shift procurement dollars upwards and past $2 million. And that means that businesses in the Bronx were able to get a contract with institutions. We'd like to phrase them as anchors because they're not moving anywhere. So institutions such as the Bronx Zoo, such as Fordham University, and be able to really give these opportunities to the local businesses here in the Bronx, which also closes that gap, the wealth gap.
And in our conversations developing this event, we talked about the wealth gap and how it can be addressed by worker owner cooperative business models, which, as we mentioned, is a key initiative for the Bronx Exchange. For those who may not know, can you describe what a worker owner cooperative is, how it might differ from the traditional business models that we see, and some of its key features?
Absolutely. In a typical business, there's a limit to the ownership. There's like one or maybe a few. And so, but also that also means that that's also limited in the decision-making and the profit of a business. With the worker owner cooperative, it changes not necessarily the business model, but the ownership and decision-making of a business. So now the folks who work the business are also the ones who participate in the profit earnings and also puts input in the decisions of the direction of the business or the product development or service development of that business. It is a shared wealth model and also a business structure that allows for that, for shared wealth to happen.
And I know your work isn't only in helping businesses start from a worker owner cooperatives, but also showing small businesses that already exist and they're already in the community the benefits of transitioning to a worker owner cooperative. Can you talk a little bit about your process for helping small businesses realize those benefits and transition when, especially maybe when they think it's not possible for them as a small business that's just looking to, be in that growth phase?
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't really have a clear way to convert businesses. It's more like feel in touch, because it really depends on the industry. It really depends on the alignment. I think owners understanding the benefits of sharing the wealth, sharing the decision making, the profits. It can be an opportunity for those who are working. But I do want to share something that it's more of what's actually happening. And so to get a better understanding of collaboration and sharing. Here in the Bronx, there is a corridor, it's called Jerome Avenue, where there's a bunch of businesses that are in the automotive industry. And so what is typically happening today is that whenever there's a need that a business cannot meet that need, it's being actually asked for in another business. So they have ways to share and collaborate. And it's intuitive. It's community-based. It's the sharing of resources that we can share the profit of this sale of this service, or this sale of this product, the sale of this, a need, a piece of a car, whatever it might be. There's more collaboration. There's more of the shared mentality. And so when it comes to that, it's really making sure that their values are aligned. And even something as far as Jerome Avenue, where there's a corridor of businesses, it's actually more intuitive than we think.
I really love that you gave that example, because I feel like that's really at the core of this event, is helping to start think about the benefits of working with the people around you to enrich your own experience at an organization, to enrich your organization, to benefit your community, and sort of shifting that idea in our minds that the business world is a competition, from one where these are the benefits of coming together, across shared values, across shared industries, across the street, to really benefit everybody. It's not always a win-lose or a lose-lose. It can be a win-win to work with the people around you. And it really perfectly aligns with my next question about the benefits that you've seen as an organization since you've helped begin to facilitate and observe the development of these cooperatives.
Yeah, overall, worker cooperative, or just the shared work, shared benefits, it has substantial employee ownership to do better during recessions. It reduces turnover, and it has greater employee satisfaction. I think, if you don't have no skin in the game, it becomes, you're less engaged, and so, and overall, like I mentioned before, it really addresses the racial and gender wealth gaps that exist. And so this is a part of a solution that we've been thinking of and we've been executing. And right now it's just about scaling that solution.
And on the same idea of cooperation and collaboration and shifting the mindset from competition to sharing your wealth, to sharing that skin in the game and getting everybody really invested in the community, I really appreciate that organizations like the Bronx Exchange are recognizing the fact that we're stronger together, when we set aside this notion of competition and begin to collaborate. It helps, like you're saying, address social challenges like wealth gaps. It also helps to address environmental challenges, sort of coming together with your shared knowledge to address climate change, to address your business's impacts on the community, in the environment, to create widespread change. Can you share a little bit more about the Bronx Exchange's view on collaboration and its benefits? So not only the benefits of cooperating with your employees, but with everybody in the community.
Yes, actually, I have a story to share, more of a project, if will. We've been able to work on a healthy air quality initiative about 2 years ago or 3. This is way before COVID. So, forgive me because I feel like, there's some time that it's just, I'm in the gap because of COVID, but way before COVID. And this initiative it's interesting because of the stakeholders in this part. We were able to work with city agencies, small businesses, community-based organizations, a workforce development program, and all of it was really tied into, collaboration, working together. And this was really focused in 2 areas with health, healthy air. The elements of providing, the elements of having apartments, residents, being pest proof and being cleaned contributes to unhealthy air qualities. And so there was a city initiative to provide these services. And what we were able to do, because of the relationships that we've had, is to leverage and push the work further by working together with a small, which is not so small today, but a fairly small at the time, pest management company, who their approach to pest proofing apartments and really managing pests is through a green way, not necessarily just putting poison out and just spraying things. No, it's really pest proofing apartments for this case, sealing holes, really thinking about where pests live and where they reside, and really isolating them from areas where they could continue to multiply, etc. And all of this, we've been able to push against or push forward the healthy air quality. Again, with this small business, working also because at the beginning of this project, there was a capacity need. So now we helped the business get a contract. We now needed to help this small business increase capacity. So we saw a local workforce development program in the same industry to now add capacity. It just so happens that this program recruited Bronxites, residents of the Bronx, who now had an opportunity to get the training, be able to apply their training in an apprenticeship process. And so it meant the community as a whole now being connected in this one initiative. So now small business, a workforce development program, Bronxites, working together with a community-based organization as well. All of it is the different actors in collaboration and in creating a healthy air quality for folks here in the Bronx.
I love that illustration and example so much, because it goes back immediately to your original point of ensuring that the resources of the Bronx are being utilized to benefit the community, and you're seeing the returns of the incredible amount of resources, of knowledge that you have in the community benefiting residents at large, and the fact that people across areas of expertise, across areas of business, of community, can come together to really create change and then see that change unfold. It just must have been such an incredibly gratifying experience. So thank you so much for sharing that. As we begin to transition to the Q&A portion of our event, I'll just keep asking some questions as people start to think of their own. If at any time you have any, feel free to raise your hand. But one thing that I think follows really well from the story that you just shared is people in business often have this immediate reaction of hearing stories like this, thinking you're coming together to collaborate, or even a really good example is the car dealership story that you shared. They might think this hurts the financial success of my company. If I'm willing to outsource this to another resource in the community, share this with a potential competitor. From your experiences, how can you share why this might not be true and the benefits of collaboration, despite some hesitancies you might face?
Yeah, so far I've been able to witness firsthand the benefits of collaborative work. And I know that I think the story is that because of what we're told, it may not be room to have, but when you witness it for the first hand, and like I mentioned with, the corridor and, the folks that provide automotive services to customers and them, sharing resources, it just doesn't also just fall in there, but it's also the fact that this kind of work that we're focused on is real community impact. And real community impact doesn't just fall into like, what does a business do to be sustainable? It doesn't just fall into like industries. It falls into like, how does multiple stakeholders here in the Bronx find opportunity to not just share wealth, but share information, share knowledge? And for the most part, I've shared two experiences of, being born and raised here in the Bronx and explaining the whole Jerome corridor of sharing of resources and in this healthy air quality initiative. But it goes beyond even that. Now it's thinking about the individual community member that because of our collaborative work has an impact, right? Homes being pest proof, air quality, health determinants really changing. And so this all has a bigger picture that doesn't necessarily mean, well, we need to be in competition because this is business. It's more like, how do we work together? Because yes, we need to sustain, but there's a bigger impact when it comes to the community. And businesses are part of that community.
That's a really wonderful point. And on the idea of community and coming together across the community, I have a question in the chat that's asking about the potential challenges of developing this kind of collaborative model across the metropolitan region. So connecting all sorts of organizations and people across the Bronx.
That is a very good question. The challenges is really comes down to values being aligned. Is identifying those folks who are open and willing through a growth mindset of thinking, yeah, business doesn't have to be this way. What can I learn? And the challenges around that, it's really understanding how to identify folks that are open to the discussion. They may not understand it at first, and then being patient and in giving them the explanation and really communicating in an effective way the benefits of it, So those are some of the challenges. I think that's not anything different with I was a a student myself, working with, classmates on a project, you got to get things aligned. We're trying to get this project done. This is the grade that I'm hoping for. And I'm hoping that you want the same grade as I do, that kind of thinking, but it's the same thing. It's like finding values aligned, finding interest, and really pushing or leveraging the strengths of partners, potential partners, which I'm sure you guys all know about that because, maybe my classmate is good at designing or my other classmate is good at, speaking with folks. So it's really leveraging those strengths. And that's not to say that it's easy. It is a challenge, and finding those solutions in challenges is absolutely it changes oneself. You start looking at things differently in ways that allows for more opportunities of growth as a person.
And in terms of your work as an organization to develop a base of resources to tap into to find those shared values and find resources to collaborate on projects, what work do you do to sort of build that knowledge base of the people and businesses and resources in the Bronx? Do you tap primarily into the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative's base knowledge of the community? Is there a lot of word of mouth or initiatives to further your database of potential collaborators?
That's also a good question. Love these questions. Interesting enough that the folks who, for the most part, in the Bronx Exchange team and the BCDI team are from the Bronx. So it becomes, we get this opportunity to really do things in our community. Either we lived in the community or we are from that community. So I think that's the biggest asset. We believe that solutions shouldn't come from the outside, it should come from within. And so, having this hands-on experience of being part of the community and being able to understand the community really helps us understand the challenges and find solutions to that. So that's the first piece. And then the other, we developed a platform that it's still being developed, it's still being matured in the process of really aggregating resources for the business community. And that may mean, technical assistance in different areas of business. It could be marketing, it could be, for us, it's more market access, leveraging relationships and giving small businesses an opportunity to really go after proposals, submit a proposal and support them through that process. And so, like I said, the fact that we have this on the ground level experience provides us with this opportunity to really give back to the business community and the community overall, and also the tool that we've developed. And I'm happy to share that with you guys to it may inspire students in their entrepreneurship.
I love how you mentioned the fact that your team is really people that are from the Bronx that now have the opportunity to contribute to the Bronx. And even in the beginning, when you were introducing yourself and talking about how honored you feel to be in a position today to give back to your community in that way, we have a question in the chat about what has been the most fulfilling part of your job.
The most fulfilling part of my job, man, there's so much. That is a full loaded question. It has been many points in several years working here, from seeing a small business that had an idea and was able to really sustain themselves, but really didn't see themselves being able to get a contract with like Fordham University. That was a big one. I think the aspirations and inspiration was there, but being able to support and make those those dreams kind of possible, to phrase it like that, I think that was fulfilling. From seeing a worker owner cooperative, who are women owned, minority and women owned, be able to land opportunities that meant like feeding their families because they depended on this business. And in even difficult times as COVID, strategizing with them and thinking of like, how do we create more opportunities? How do we leverage more opportunities for you through our relationships? That has been another one. Landing an opportunity for another minority-owned business to get a contract with the Wildlife Conservation Society. Another business that women who had a contract with the same Wildlife Conservation Society, but a project at the New York Aquarium. Those are the kind of things that, like we're pushing a needle and really making an impact, because those same businesses are able to now, buy locally. It could be buy groceries, and that's economic development. The money that's being generated in the Bronx is being spent in the Bronx. So that, I can go on. That's a full loaded question. I don't want to, take up too much time and space.
It's so exciting to hear about the true tangible impact that you've been able to see from your work. And it's not small impact, it's massive. It's supporting women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, giving them opportunities that they may have never seen in their business, in the next 5 years, and making it possible. And it inspires me as a student. I'm sure it inspires our audience as students and audience members, which leads me to my next question about this audience is comprised of community members, of students who are, we're about to enter the corporate world. All of us, regardless of our background, have money to invest and spend in the local community. What advice do you have for our audience, as we enter our careers, as we go out into our communities? What work can we do to help enrich our own communities?
I want to start off by really, we here at BCDI, we like to say we share flowers, and it's really a way to like celebrate and lift up. So I want to give the entrepreneur students their flowers. That I want to encourage and inspire folks who want to start their business or have an idea, because that is really, in my opinion, my view, and I'm sure there's others who see it the same way, that is the catalyst to the country that we live in. And I think it's important to really encourage folks to continue to think outside of the box and really see where the need is and potentially meet that need. And so what I want to share about this is that whether you have an idea right now of a business and you want to execute it, great. There's going to be several challenges, and there's going to be right now skill sets in your college career that you will need to apply to that, whether you're going to go to start a business or have a career. Deadlines is a real thing. So when your professors tell you like, I need this by this time, you will have in your own business world, you'll have clients that say, yes, I need this at this time. So that's a real skill set. Or if you have a supervisor, manager, and you're in your career, it's the same. So, don't diminish diminish what you're learning now, because those are real skill sets. And then if you're later in your career, you decide, yes, I want to do, I want to have, you got this inspiration of a business, I would say you've developed the skill sets required to start it. And experience is so needed. I've already shared how, the team gets this opportunity to really make an impact because we're from here. We understand the challenges, right? What are the needs of their community, right? And I don't want to promote, but that's what it is now, a social enterprise. Think of a social enterprise. There's needs that need to be met. And that could mean, developing a business to meet those needs. So I just wanted to encourage and give flowers, if I may.
I love the sentiment of giving flowers. And I just have to add, and Dean Vickery can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're offering a social entrepreneurship course soon, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a great opportunity to all of our students that are looking to build their course load for next semester. Take Gabriel's words to heart and enroll in that course offering. Give yourself the opportunity to expand that skill set that he's talking about to apply once you leave Hofstra. Just a shameless entrepreneurship plug. And I'm going to read aloud an amazing question that Alec posed in the chat. He says, "Hi, Gabriel. With the collaborative businesses in particular needing constant communication, how have you been able to facilitate worker operations through the pandemic and New York City mandates?"
It's a good question. With the businesses in our network, we understand that it's not with all of them, but with most of them, it's not just a business. It's not transactional. We have a relationship and it's a partnership, right? Partnership means constant communication, understanding expectations, right? Understanding boundaries. It's a relationship, right? And so because of that, there were regulations that changed often because of COVID, because of the relationship status, right? And I want to say the deposits that we've made with these relationships, we're able to communicate in an effective way and understand, look, this is what's happening and this is what we might need to pivot, course correct, etc. It actually happens. I want to dare say that we've been doing this even before COVID because of the projects and the relationship of there's expectations. And so our support didn't just say like, we're helping you get this contract. No, it's like, we're helping you execute it as well, in the most productive, efficient, and meeting those expectations, if not exceeding them, because you have, ground level support through this contract. And so I guess the work that we've been able to do and fortunate to do have really prepared us for these challenges and barriers to communication, post and even during COVID. So yeah, and I want to put an emphasis that our relationships with businesses and business owners, it's not transactional. It's not here, we do this for you and you do this for us. It's more, we understand who you are as a person and we build those relationships from the ground up.
I really appreciate this emphasis you're putting on shifting a business mindset from financial, transactional to people, to seeing the people behind a business and to seeing the people that the business serves. And I think that's really powerful, and all of us can benefit from, in any interaction, shifting our mindset from I do this for you, you do this for me, to how are we both working together to grow something amazing. On on top of this idea that, you know, the pandemic in a certain regard divided us with mandates, with distance, I think in a way it also connected us. We watched communities come together incredibly quickly to enact change. Did you see any changes in interest for your services, interest in collaboration during the pandemic, as small businesses especially were looking to continue serving their communities during such a tough time?
Yes. Another story to share, if I may. BCDI has a relationship with another economic development organization in the Bronx. Their approach to economic development is a little different than ours. And they are also, they own land and buildings. They have property. And so because of our relationship and their need to they have several areas of business. They have a commercial kitchen. They have services for the community, like community centers. We were able to work with them to disinfect. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. They also have a school. And so we were able to work with them to disinfect some of these areas. And really I think the understanding that we've been developing thus far has been, where is your local dollar going to? Because it can go to a business outside or it can go to a business here in the Bronx. And so I wouldn't want to say it wasn't post, because this was summer 20, late 2020, that these things needed to be done. And so the fact that we're connected, there was a need that was presented. Hey, we have this need, and I understand you work with businesses. Do you have a business that could facilitate these services? And of course we said yes. And then also the fact that we reached out to our network and saying, how can we help? What are the ways that we can support each other? And there was other opportunities that stemmed from that as well. I want to say that, just Isabella, the way that you shared, you know, coming together during a crisis, it seems like it's in our human innate self to do that. So I want to say that we've done the same thing across several community-based organizations to really support one another.
I see that Bella Gomez has a question. Bella, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the company. Like, this has been such an amazing event so far. My question is, are there any corporate companies that have inspired, that you've been fascinated with or have inspired you in certain ESG matters? And I'm taking a sustainability accounting course, so I know like ESG means like environmental, then we get S, social, and then G, governance. Is there any company that you're like, wow, they're doing a great job with this aspect?
I'm not too sure if I'm aware of any company per se, but I do want to share this. There is, and we've got inspired from them. There is a community in Mondragon, Spain, where there's several worker owner cooperatives. They have like a whole ecosystem in worker owner cooperatives. And whether it's just very similar, it's also found in, I forgot what city in Italy, but the cross collaboration of very similar businesses and saying, well, here's what I can give you right now, and here's what I need. And that kind of relationship that builds is where we get inspired from. And so we've had, in the next moment that we've had representatives from Mondragon really come here and speak to us and I'm happy to share it with Isabella so you could, all participate. I think, and even if you want to do your little Google research, absolutely. And I could actually, Isabella, I could share a presentation, what they shared with us, for those who, the entrepreneur inspired folks who are gonna, make an impact in the community and in the world. Happy to share that with you. But that has been a lot of our inspiration. The work that they've been able to do in Mondragon, Spain.
Great. Thank you so much for answering my question.
I love the example that you just gave because it opens up the idea of collaboration, not just in the Bronx, not just in your local community, but you're collaborating globally to learn from others and to have that opportunity for mentorship, to learn from models that have worked, to learn from them about areas that they're still growing in and help them solve those problems. So this is what really excites me about community work and community-based business is it's not just about your local community. It can go so much farther than that. So thank you for that example. And another recent event that I would love your thoughts on and how it connects to community organizing, community business, is the fact that recently, I'm sure we've all seen it in the news, both Starbucks and Amazon locations are leading unprecedented efforts to start unionizing across the US. How do you think this reveals changing demands and priorities of US workers and communities to have more say in business?
Yes, thank you for the question. That's an interesting one. What immediately comes to my mind is something that we've been sharing for quite some time. And it really is in the model of what would a company like Uber mean if the drivers were also the owners of Uber, right? And I want to also pose the question, what would Amazon be if the workers who are packing up the boxes had a real participated in a way that really set the course of the business, or they had input in decisions, or they participated in some of the profits that are being developed? I think the idea of unionizing and coming together really is connected to, like, what would it mean to share decision, responsibility, and profit when it comes to a business? It's a question that we often pose, not just to business owners or the community overall. We also like to, pose that question to youth who are thinking about business. So I will pose the same question to the entrepreneurs here and say, what would it mean, right? If you have a multi-billion-dollar company, in saying that it's shared not just in wealth, because that sounds nice, but also shared in decisions. Maybe there's some things that you weren't agreed with on, like the quality of care for someone who is really helping you push this business go to where it is, or the benefits of being a staff person is just not there, both when it comes to health or when it comes to family. What would that mean? I would pose that question for you guys to all marinate and think about when you're thinking about these new world-changing businesses.
Your comment really strikes the chord of my business values, because all the time, my family's from Seattle, I think about Amazon and Jeff Bezos's wealth and the people that are truly the backbone of Amazon. It's the workers in the factories, making sure our packages get to us in those prime days, 1 to 2 day turnaround. They're holding up the institution of Amazon and ensuring its success, and this idea that during the pandemic, essential workers is a term that, came to the forefront of business for the first time. This idea that, people who are traditionally seen to be the bottom of the corporate ladder are essential in ensuring that we get, the services and the goods that we as community members enjoy. Do you have any thoughts on the introduction of the idea of essential workers? Does it give you hope that potentially communities and businesses are seeing that value in their workers outside of the corporate level? Or do you think we're slowly just reverting back to perhaps pre-pandemic values?
I think there was an essence of understanding the value of the work under a crisis. I'm not sure if we're losing that, that understanding, or we're letting that thought and that appreciation go. I can't really engage with that, but I would like to think that we find ways so that it doesn't happen if it hasn't. And if it's happening, how do we kind of really grasp that right back of saying, well, in a difficult time, I remember, who were really out there doing the things that we all needed. And I hope that at least for on our end, I want to speak that we've tried to do that and we've continued to do that because, as I mentioned before, this is not, we don't approach our work very transactionally because we understand the value of people, and we understand that it's in relationship that things kind of move forward. So I hope we get to, again, I can't really engage in and really answer that question, but I hope if we're not, we understand the value of people first, and the value of those relationships that we have with those people.
I think throughout this event, you've given us so many incredible things to reflect on. This idea of people first business, community-based business, community enrichment, ensuring that there's collaboration and cooperation inside of your business and outside of it. And I know each of us is going to walk away with something new to think about as community members, as consumers, as employees, as employers. The list goes on. And in these final minutes, I would love to give you the space to just share how we can continue to stay connected with the work that you're doing in the community, how we can support your work, and also if you have any final advice on contributing to similar initiatives in our own communities.
Yeah, I will share a few things with Isabella, and she could go ahead and share it forward. I think, as I shared before, social enterprise, meeting identifying the need, not just in the community, it might be something bigger than the community, where you're meeting that need and thinking around how does that really impact society, right? How does that impact outside of your community, people overall, is something to think about. As far as like, how can you, probably be connected. I'll share more things with Isabella, our website, we have an interesting, I want to say a new initiative, but it's not that new, where we actually not just work with businesses and community-based organizations, but the community overall, and really understanding some of the social challenges that they have and the needs that they have, and thinking collaboratively how do we meet those needs outside of just like one organization. It's like connecting the whole ecosystem per se. I'll definitely share that information so you guys can look at it. And Isabella has my email. I'm happy to, find time to respond to an email and see if there's anything that I could, not just from a business end or an economic development end. It might be a question about, community work and stuff like that. Happy to lend inspiring minds some of my experiences to avoid any pitfalls. You don't have to go through what I've gone through overall. You could kind of go around that pit, and I would want more success than what I've been able to accomplish.
I want to thank you so much for extending yourself as a resource to us, for being here today and speaking with us. I'm really encouraged and hopeful that this is just the beginning of seeing the Bronx Exchange on Hofstra's campus or Hofstra's virtual world. To everybody in the audience, I did put some of their links in the chat, along with the links to some of our incredible collaborators. And I'm just so encouraged and inspired by your words. I'll work with Athleen to ensure that everybody who attended gets some of the resources that Gabriel shared. And I hope you all walk away from this event feeling inspired and reflective and thinking about how you're going to go support a small business or start a small business. And again, there are incredible course offerings at Hofstra that really tie in to the things that we talked about today. The Labor Studies program is offering a course on jobs, justice, and society. We're having a social entrepreneurship course coming up, and I think we also have a management course that ties into themes of diversity and inclusion and management for change. So just take a little look through the fall course offerings and hopefully further enrich your education in some of these topics. Today shouldn't be the last time that you're thinking about these things. And Gabriel, again, thank you so much for your time. This concludes our event, but I really look forward to continuing to have these conversations with all of you Hofstra community and continuing to hopefully engage the Hofstra community in the Bronx Exchange's work. And I also see that Dr. Comer has chimed in, yes, management 157S inclusive leadership. So I hope you all consider continuing this conversation and continuing to connect with the amazing people that help put this together. Thank you again, Gabriel.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, an honor. Best of wishes, best of luck, best of success. Please impact this world. We need it.
Yes, share your flowers, spread your flowers, and have a great evening, everybody.